What it says exactly, I was trying to find it.
Yeah, I read it.
All right, we'll put that in there, exactly the language of the crimes code, and if it is a range from 3 to 1,000, we'll assume that's what we'll use.
We went to Universal, probably 3 months.
Yeah. Well, we don't know yet.
And just let me say this isn't to make money. This is just to discourage chronic abusers of for business like the Hilton Garden Inn can afford to fix an
All
alarm.
right, listen, we'll have one at a time going.
Okay.
That's the other thing, if I have a sensor that goes bad, it's going to be cheaper for me to call my service guy than pay a $300 fine.
Well,
So
for instance-
I'll get it fixed, that's what the...
For instance, over at the Hilton Garden, they put the sensors in right outside the shower door.
I don't consider that a false alarm.
Because it's doing its job.
That's a
It's
design
sensing.
flaw.
What is it?
But
They put the heat detectors outside the bathroom door.
and they're called rate of rise.
So in the morning when somebody opens up the shower door, all the steam's going into the head.
Well, I understand all of that. The problem that I see is that every time the firemen have to be disturbed, especially in the middle of the night, the liability associated with your going there, the wear and tear on the firemen, as well as the wear and tear on the equipment. We can't keep giving freebies and exist as a township. And that's what we have to at least be involved with. And since this is primarily commercial, primarily in South Point, I don't mean to bang South Point, but that seems where it is. There should be some punitively, I think that 3 incidents in 12 months is extremely generous. And I think that we've been talking about this now for how many months have we been considering it? 3 months, 6 months?
Yeah.
At least. I mean, we've been actually talking about it seriously, I thought. And we need to bite the bullet and do something about it and stop it. To me, if it's bringing the firemen out every time because they're taking a shower, then this is the fault of the Hilton, not of our firemen. And they should have to change their system, or they should have to pay a fine for our trucks going up. That's my position on it.
Well, I think that the consensus should be that we're talking about multiple times. If it's the same sensor, same time, the next day, that should be, that should go up, the fine should increase for each time on that sensor. But I think when they're proposing 3, it can be 3 different things, entirely unrelated things in a building to go off, and they're willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on it, am I right?
Well, I was just talking to Sean, but I think that's in the magistrate's hand.
Yeah, it is.
So we don't have to worry about the exact dollar amount, quibble over that.
Yeah,
Just give the citation, let them decide.
The
Magistrate decide what the fine is.
definition in the crimes code is the activation of an alarm device to which a public safety agency responds with crime, fire, or other emergency that has not occurred.
Exactly.
It has not occurred.
Exactly.
Police or fire, it has not, emergency
But
that has not
that's
occurred.
kind of pretty broad though too, because you could have had somebody that had a skillet in a house that
Well,
burned up and they
well,
put it on
no,
and the
that's-
alarm went
that's-
off.
We-
that's
but
fire.
now,
That's
but now
fire.
there's no fire
No,
there.
We used to write it up as a good intent alarm. In other words, the alarm system did what it was supposed to do. If the little kid went over and pulled the fire alarm, the alarm did what it was supposed to do. So that's not considered a false alarm. If the sensors have a lifespan on, and if they have a sensor that goes out, that goes bad, and they refuse to change it, or refuse to call, and then we're getting that same alarm over and over again, it gives them an incentive to say, hey, I'm going to call my agency and have them fix this.
But how are we going to tie it into a particular sensor in a certain room?
You know, some sensor goes
Why?
off.
Every time you're going to know sensor in room.
Every time we go over it, it says what sensor went off.
They can tell you like their dot sensors A
It's going off.
Like for
That's all I know
example,
is the same
I was
one.
upstairs in my house one day and all of a sudden my alarm went off and the police showed up and it turned out that my sensor on our basement window was bad. Well, I called Guardian and they came out and replaced it, but not everybody would do that. They would just keep
Right.
letting it go off.
Right.
And as soon as that alarm goes off on my alarm system at my house, it says, you know, here, this is the one that
They
is
can
going off.
pinpoint
Which one went off?
But the only thing that I'm worried
Does your
about.
report say that?
Yeah.
it'll be in your
Yeah,
report,
right.
in the thing that's sent in the citation?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
But look, but here's the only thing I worry about in home guardian. You guys tell me what you think. I want your honest opinion. In my opinion, like you said, the fire alarm is doing what it's supposed to do. So if you start fining them, could they move the fire?
Absolutely.
They said they can, they said it'd be expensive.
And since that is not a fire setting it off, it would fit the false alarm.
But I worry,
That's not a fire.
like,
Never was a fire.
would they turn them off somehow?
They are not allowed by law to turn them off. And if they did turn them off,
And there were
they would be covered by insurance.
oh, that would be a whole can of worms that they don't want to open.
No, yeah,
Or will they just pay the?
Well, that
How expensive
we
is
gotta
it?
put
Is
some
it,
pressure on them to,
is
get them to
it
move.
so
Most
expensive
companies
that
have a
they're
service
just gonna
contract.
keep paying $300?
Most companies have a service contract with a provider.
Well, the Hilton Garden Inn's been going on for years, and
1996.
eventually it's gonna keep going on to where it's gonna be the boy that cries wolf, to where every fireman in the township gets that, oh, that's a false alarm, I'm not gonna, I got other stuff to do. And two people are gonna show up and it's gonna be a real blaze.
Well, what happens now, what's the, I know in Jackson Township, I remember the guys, the zoning guy coming in and checking the alarm system. Do we have someone in the township doing that?
No, don't even go there. That's coming down the list.
That's another bullet point.
That's coming down the list. The bottom line is, trust the police and fire departments here to have some discretion. They know when there's exigent circumstances, they know when it's an old lady, 90 years old, who can't afford a battery, who can't reach it to change it. We'll do that for them. This is to give us some teeth when the Hilton Garden Inn, the big money people refuse to quit bothering us. Is that
It's
the
not
best-
costing them anything, they don't care, so they just say, they show up.
That's the two concerns I have. We've already addressed the first one, okay, where we've got to define what a false alarm is. But I don't want to make it too that a company feels, well, this is just going to be a cost of doing business in Cecil Township.
Right.
That's what has to escalate, it can't be the same
So those are the
300,
two
300,
concerns we
300.
have to address then.
And you're gonna have people that do that. I was with Peters for years, and we had we went out on a false alarm, they gave them a ticket. Some people just choose to pay it, some people choose to get their things fixed, okay? As it went on,
And we should be covered.
we would go out and check alarm system, because we were paid, we were there all day. And we would go out and do fire inspections and do all that stuff, which is not being done here because we're not here all
But
day.
that would have addressed this problem here on the design, poor design.
Yeah, the building approved, building was
Yeah,
approved.
it's gotta start from the plans.
Well, it's no different if you put a lock on a door, on paper it works, and when your key doesn't work, they fix it, right? It's no different when, once it's in, it can't be moved, it's bull. I mean, let's just face it, if they designed it wrong, they either go back to the company or they bite the bullet and pay for it, but sooner or later, and this isn't a big issue, I don't think we have to waste 2 hours on it, and
Yeah.
like the police, they pull people over and give them warnings. We don't throw everybody in jail for going 6 miles over the speed limit. I mean, there's discretionary powers here, and we know who's the problem child. We're trying to get to the real problem.
All right, so we can move on.
I just want to say too, that it's probably going to be a recommendation from the fire department.
Us together.
So we're not going to probably go out on site unless, they feel that it's a
Yeah, in other words, if we see
So
a
it's
problem,
working
we'll
together,
call the officer and say, hey, we
Yes.
want this person cited.
Exactly.
And we'll give the reason. And it would be up to his discretion whether he thought it was a good enough reason or not.
And let me finish with this. In our territory, if it's a personal home, an older lady, whatever, it's a residence, we carry smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, battery powered. If they have a hardwired system, it's giving them problems in the middle of the night, we disconnect it, say get it fixed, here's a temporary detector. If you need 1, 2, or 3, we bite the bullet. If it's
And
2 o'clock in the afternoon, they can go to Lowe's.
And
If
they've
they have
been
the money.
doing
If it's a little lady who doesn't have any money, we give them a detector.
it. And they've been doing it.
Yes.
We had, up in a lot of our plants, their detectors are getting to the point where they need replaced. We'll go out and tell them, hey, they're hardwired detectors, you go online, you can buy them, but we're gonna give you 3 of them right now to put in your house to keep you protected. And they'd come back and say, hey, come give your detectors, or they'd even come back and say, can you hang them for us? We'll go out and hang them. It gives us a community spirit, and it gives a give and take.
So we don't want you to feel we're trying to get anybody. We're working with our community. It's fire safety, fire prevention. That's all we're here for.
All right, then.
What is the ratio of residential to commercial in this situation? What?
For every 1 residential, there's probably 10 commercial.
Easy,
So I was gonna
easy.
say-
Ballpark.
Okay, Okay, so we
And-
know where we are in it.
And the commercial people are not paying the bill. We get a lot of money from our residents. The commercial people, you know, donations,
Don't exist.
there's some do, but not the big. Most of the money
We
comes from the
we will
residents.
commit to putting some pressure on Hilton because they're the biggest, regarding because they're the biggest violators. We'll try to put pressure on them.
I mean,
That's the most we can get.
even if it's not the money part, it's,
Second, third position on.
Are they, are they
But I thought they were a lot better.
They're a lot better than the Hilton,
Still not.
but it's still not.
Exactly.
You still have people doing ridiculous things in these hotel rooms, but it's.
Part of that is you can't.
yeah.
You don't want to know.
We don't want to go there.
Okay, number two, DJ, fire code. Number two, fire code adoption should be considered by the township and that the fire district supports this position. After these buildings are built, there's nobody checking them.
Nope,
There's no inspections.
nope, they can do what they want when they're built, they have to pass inspection, that's it.
For occupancy.
Once we leave, there's nothing done.
Well, we just
They
went
can do
around
whatever they
West
want.
Banco Monday night looking for an FEC, and the nearest, the only reasonable hydrant is a private hydrant over back behind Main Street, and that's still an extremely long way off the private hydrant. So if that West Banco catches on fire over in South Point,
Well, this goes back to a problem that I remember years ago. Tommy, and you should remember it as well. The fire departments are not given an opportunity to review the plans before they're adopted. And,
There you go.
and I think that we really need to have a fireman on our board. Like we have Sean for the police, we have Bill Bonner for Public Works. And I believe that we need to have a fireman on our board to make sure that these things are done. We've never done anything about it. We've talked about it, how there's a problem, but we don't do anything.
That's coming up later in the paper.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm trying to move
We
along.
got a whole bunch of issues.
Okay, why didn't I just got
Yeah.
Mr. Feedback, are you going to join us the first Monday of every month? That wasn't a good response.
Curb your enthusiasm.
Try to contain your.
Bill, what do you mean by this number 2, fire code
Okay.
adoption? Okay, explain what you're talking about.
Cecil Township does not have a fire code that can be enforced.